Hayao Miyazaki just turned 83, and in celebration, we're going to be redesigning some of his most famous and iconic Studio Ghibli films for fun. This man has created movies and films that truly made our childhood special. Stories and characters that got us inspired to pursue art in the first place, and traumatized us with haunting visuals we can't unsee. Thanks, Miyazaki. From the classical curious worlds of Spirited Away to the deep mysterious forest of Princess Mononoke, we're going to be redesigning 7 Studio Ghibli films in 7 different ways based on their environment and theme. And because we're limited on time because it's literally his birthday, I'm going to be using the art of copying and showing you some tricks to make original work fast by combining existing ideas together. I call this the Frankenstein method. Let's put on our designer eye goggles, trek far and wide through the magical world of Pinterest to look for various cool designs. Set in the Muromachi period of Japan, Princess Mononoke follows Ashitaka, a young prince cursed by a boar demon, while defending his village. He embarks on a journey to find a cure and discovers a conflict between industrial humans led by Lady Eboshi and the guardians of the forest, including San, a girl raised by wolves. The film explores themes of environmentalism, human greed, and the delicate balance between man and nature. Since the majority of Princess Mononoke's settings and themes surround itself with nature and creatures, we gather some really cool inspirations that intertwines type, foliage, and plants together. We chose a nice serif font to type out Princess Mononoke and change the color to create a monotone dark deep green. Let's start to illustrate and draw lines out of the edges of the different parts of the serif font to mimic vines blooming and growing out. Let's create a little round leaf at the end of the vines similar to the reference we have to give each line a little nice endpoint. We're going to create a series of long straight ones and also ones with exaggerated curls to make each of them feel organic and unique. To give this title logo a bit more personality and storytelling, we're gonna add these cute and equally terrifying tree spirits that make an appearance throughout the film. Let's sprinkle them everywhere and sit them on top of the letters to make them feel like they're living in the environment. Next up, I really like this reference with leaves wrapping in the middle of the letter stems. So we're going to recreate this and apply it to all the letters around our logos. The forest spirits feel a bit distracting, so we're going to lower some of their opacity so some of them feel like they fade back into the background. Lastly, we're going to add these sharp thorns to the sides of the type to add one last touch to make it feel more plant-like. Finished logo here, and it turned out really nice. All the small little details we added from thorns to vines and leaves wrapping around really helped to make the overall logo feel alive. Howl's Moving Castle is a tale revolving around Sophie, a young woman cursed to live in the body of an elderly person by a wicked witch. Seeking a cure, Sophie finds herself in a magical realm of Howl, a powerful and mysterious wizard who lives in a walking castle powered by a fire demon named Calcifer. The themes of fire play a significant and symbolic role, particularly embodied in the character Calcifer, and his fiery nature provides the energy needed to make the castle move and function magically. So we have these 3 solid references that can help us to make our own unique designs. We're gonna grab the walking castle from the web and make it into a silhouette. This acts like a container for us to put these fiery illustration types inside of it, like an oven. So we're gonna grab our paintbrush tool and do a first pass at filling up the letters inside of the space to act as a guide. After we have this finished, we're gonna now draw the fire illustrated designs on top of this, and we have the thin lines behind to help keep us in place so the letters have a nice distance to how we drew them. We're gonna size it down a bit and make the designs a solid color. Let's make holes for the O's and A's and also draw a comma in for Howls. And as a nice touch, we're gonna add chimney smoke coming out of the moving castle. Let's add a background color, turn it red, and make the inside title font color change to a nice orange to mimic Calcifer in the tones of fire. And there we have it. Really like how this one turned out, and the chimney fire really helps to bring life and also brings movement into the finalized logo. Porco Rosso sets in the Adriatic Sea between the world wars and follows the adventures of a former Italian fighter pilot turned bounty hunter who mysteriously transforms into a pig. As Porco Rosso, he battles air pirates and seeks refuge from the rise of fascism in Italy. The film blends humor, romance, and aerial combat, braiding themes of identity and freedom through flight. Since freedom and the sky play such a signature role in this film, we're gonna base the logo off of these elongated and dramatic serif fonts with long strokes and flourishes. These lines almost feel plane-like, shifting and gliding through the space, so we could definitely exaggerate them and use this as airplanes drifting in the wind. Let's type out Porco Rosso's title and start to illustrate the plane lines surrounding the type, similar to these references we have. We have these nice tiny flourishes poking out of the type that are going to be our starting points to draw the lines out to. Let's use the pen tool to create these lines so that we have the flexibility to go back and tweak the points to get the curvature we want. We're going to surround our type with more lines scattered all around, and it's starting to look look like plane pads flying around. To make sure that we could tell that the long exaggerated lines represents airplane pads, we're gonna place simple airplane silhouettes at the end of each of them so it makes our idea clear and easily recognizable. Let's go back and tweak some of the lines and add additional smaller ones behind each plane to make the pads feel like it's coming out of the plane itself. This movie is also heavily inspired by the film Casablanca, which has a sophistication and elegance to it, so we're gonna make the logo black and white and give it a static and old-timey effect. Here's our finished logo, and I'm really digging the old 50s aesthetic with the grain and the Casablanca finishing. It feels true to the time era and to Porco Rosso's sophisticated and elegant vibe. Ponyo is a charming tale inspired by The Little Mermaid, following the friendship between a goldfish princess who yearns to become human and a young boy named Sosuke, a resilient and caring kid who discovers Ponyo stranded in a jar by the sea. The film explores themes of love, friendship, and the harmony between humans and nature. The underwater scenes in Ponyo are beautifully animated and capture the enchanting and mysterious qualities of the ocean. The film explores the vibrant and diverse marine life, portraying the ocean as a magical realm filled with wonder and fantasy. Here are some key inspos and references, and they all share this nice organic and wavy type that we can mimic and illustrate to. We're gonna do a first quick pass and start drawing with a brush tool, an organic watery blotchy style. Let's do another pass and clean it up more. This watery type is super tricky to get right, so a key thing when drawing this type was to keep the ends as circular, bubbly, and round as possible. Let's rotate the type so it straightens out. Let's delete the old lettering and make the type solid. We're gonna then draw holes in the P's and the O's and add some water bubbles around the type. It's looking a lot better, and now we're gonna do one final pass and clean the font up and make the ends more round and flowy. We're gonna fill the strokes in and change the color to a light blue. Let's add lighting and shading lines around the letters to make it feel like it's shimmering and bubbling in the ocean. Lastly, we're gonna take this illustrative vector into Photoshop and start playing with a bunch of filter effects to make it feel like it's watercolored. I honestly don't know what I'm doing and just applying a bunch of filter gallery effects, but the effects that helped me get this look was the smudge stick, palette knife, diffusion glow, and the watercolor effect in the filter gallery. And that's the final Ponyo logo. Love the way it turned out, and with the magic of all these crazy filter gallery effects, we got it to look pretty close to the actual watercolor in a nice way. My Neighbor Totoro centers around two young sisters, Satsuki and Mei, who move to the countryside. In their new rural home, the sisters encounter playful forest spirits, the most notable being Totoro, a large and friendly creature. The film beautifully captures the imaginative world of childhood, blending reality with fantasy and imagination. Miyazaki made this movie to inspire kids to get out into the world, explore, use their imagination, and go out and play with nature. Based on the childlike wonder of the movie, we're gonna be basing the movie off of sketches and doodles from these cool references we pulled, almost like a kid drew this logo themselves. Let's write out the full name and choose a serif font to base our sketchy style off from. We're gonna lower the opacity and start a doodle and embrace our inner child style. I drew outside of the guiding line and made each shape inconsistent and as different from one another. We left the O's empty, and let's start to illustrate the unique characters from throughout the film. We also have this one character holding a leaf umbrella that would fit perfectly in the middle row. And lastly, we can't forget about Totoro. The font looks pretty sketchy and bad, so we're gonna go back and redraw some of the letters so they feel more refined and purposeful. After it's looking good, we're gonna apply a roughen effect to make the lines more hand-drawn to mimic a sketchy and rough doodle tone. Let's add stars all around to showcase the imagination of kids and start to color each of the letters and characters messy and outside the lines. And here's the final logo. The sketchy rough effect helps to make it feel more like a pencil scribble and imperfects the overall aesthetic nicely. Spirited Away follows a young girl named Chihiro. While moving to a new neighborhood, she stumbles upon a mysterious and magical world after her parents are transformed into pigs by eating food meant for spirits. Chihiro navigates a otherworldly realm, a bathhouse for spirits and fantastical creatures, in order to save her parents and find her way back to the human world. Throughout her journey, Chihiro encounters various challenges, makes new friends, and discovers inner strength and resilience. The film explores themes of courage, identity, and the power of compassion, set in a visually stunning world filled with characters. We've pulled these nice references that all give the idea of shadows, transparency, colorfulness, and love this one with the eerie eyes that remind us of the creepy no face. Let's start by referencing how Moshi Moshi drew their logo and start to create our own Spirited Away text. We're using simple cutout circular shapes and straight lines to create each letter form. Next, we're gonna make a circle the same size as our own stroke letters and draw 5 in a sequence to make them a nice colorful gradient blend. I grabbed a few references of the colorful spirit characters throughout the movie to reference the color palette and use it as a base. Let's go to Object Blend and make our color sequence into a blended gradient and select a particular letter to apply a blend replace spine with. We can then start to edit the colors to how we want. After we have a majority of the letters applied, let's go back into the movie still and color pick out for them so that each of our Spirit Away letters can reflect particular scenes and characters in the movie. We're also going to make some of the letter ending points darker and lower opacity to reflect the idea of ghostly spirits and how they like to blend into the background and drift into the shadows. Let's also play with the idea of transparency and how some of the letters lay on top of one another while making them see-through. The transparency and overlay on the type helps to make it feel like the letters are also part of the spirit world and feel otherworldly. We're gonna do one last final touch on making the colors more vibrant and saturated, keeping in mind how creative the movie Spirit Away characters are. Finishing this off, this still of the movie where Chihiro first is introduced into the spirit world inspired the idea to create eyes and scatter them into the negative spaces and corners of the type to give a sense of curiosity and mystery. And here's our finalized Spirit Away logo, and really love the way the colors all blend into one another. The transparency that we created gives a sense of fantasy, and the eyes that we scattered throughout makes the logo feel super playful. The Boy and the Heron is a story of a 12-year-old boy, Mahito, who loses his mother in a tragic Tokyo hospital fire. He ends up moving to a countryside and mysterious events and creatures start to appear. He follows a heron into an abandoned building in pursuit to save his new stepmother and ends up an adventure through different settings, mazes, and characters. The story tackles the themes of grief, guilt, adolescence, and embracing deep inner thoughts. With this in mind, I found these really cool inspirations all based around mazes, paths that would reflect really well with the concept of the movie. They all incorporate typography woven into the composition and this nice illusion created by black and white negative spacing. Let's first start by making a bounding box outline and use this as a guide to create all the stroke thicknesses and space to be consistent. I prefer the Japanese translated title How Do You Live better and matches well with our maze concept. Let's move on to the do and also the you section. And lastly, let's spell out the live letters. We're also going to make the question mark and create the start and end pads on the top and right edge. Let's edit and stretch the proportions horizontally so it feels more even and wider. There you have it. This is our maze version of the movie, the Boy and the Heron title logo. This one is super simple and really fun to do. Really enjoyed the concept we had for this one, and it represents the idea of multiverse, mazes, and different ways we all live life. So here are all 7 movie title logos that we've created and stylized with their own unique take. Hope it does it justice to the incredible stories and worlds that Hayao Miyazaki and the team have created. Happy birthday Miyazaki, and thank you everyone for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.